right, welcome in, 12 o'clock on your Monday afternoon now. It is Reaction Monday and the halftime show. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner will be along in a moment. Ed Bird sitting in master control as we try and make sense of what happened on Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium. Unfortunately, not the outcome we were hoping for. A lot of the vibes we talked about last week leading into the game, we talked about on Friday, very kind of reminiscent, right, of what happened in 2022 when Carolina pulled off the big upset against Tennessee. And I know a lot of people rolled their eyes and stopped talking about that. It's not the same. It's not the same. And it wasn't exactly the same. It wasn't a direct, a point-to-point comparison, but a lot of things were similar in terms of what was going on around South Carolina going into both those games. And in both instances, you were coming off of the worst performances of the season. In 2022, it was off the heels of that awful Florida game. This year, it was off the heels of a ugly loss to Oklahoma in Williams-Brice Stadium, no less. You're welcoming in this just seemingly unstoppable force of, at the time, in 2022, a Tennessee team that looked destined for the college football playoff that was scoring 90 points a game. In this instance, an Alabama team that, save for week number 1, had been playing like the best team in the country the entire season. So you had all those things working against you. People down on your program like they haven't been down on it in a while. An offense that wasn't doing what it needed to do. 2022 led by Marcus Satterfield, 2025 led by Mike Shula, to the point where most people were hoping he was going to get fired last week after the Oklahoma game. Didn't happen. But all those circumstances were surrounding this game, which created that similar type of vibe to what happened 3 years ago. And there was a point when Carolina goes up by 8 in the fourth quarter, 22-14. I really thought, oh my goodness, it's just like that. They're going to find a way to pull off this upset. And there's a lot of football left to be played. Still 10 minutes to go in the game at that point in time. But it really, really felt like South Carolina was going to pull a rabbit out of the hat once again and reaffirm this phenomenon of Beamer teams that when you finally just think they're dead in the water, they're done, count them out in the season, whatever, however you want to phrase it, they go out there and give you a performance where you always say, well, where's that been? Where was that through the first 7 games of the regular season? Where was that last week against Oklahoma? And those are conversations to be had as the show and the week goes along. But for Saturday, they did almost everything right to pick up the win against the number 4 team in the country. Unfortunately, they did come up short there at the very end. And when you have a team like Alabama, who, let's face it, and Carolina did a lot of good things, plenty of good things, offensively, defensively, special teams. Alabama probably didn't play their best game, which is what you were hoping for, right? This is an Alabama team that's been through a gauntlet in the past 4 weeks, taking on ranked opponent after ranked opponent after ranked opponent, and looking really good in the process. But all those games were tight, close. You kind of pulled away from Tennessee at the end. You made the score look better against Vanderbilt with a late touchdown there. But they had 4 quarter games against ranked teams over the course of the past month. They weren't going to come in here 100%, and they didn't look like it. Again, Ty Simpson had some mistakes, some bad throws, drops, some defensive problems. Like, they played the type of game you wanted them to play. Carolina did a lot of things good too, but Alabama was not up to their full form, which is what you were hoping for given the circumstances surrounding this game. And unfortunately, when you have a team like that, and I'll go back to using the example I used earlier, you got to cut the head off the snake, right? Let's think back to those great Saban teams that would go undefeated or only have 1 loss, win national championships, all that kind of stuff. There was always that one game of the year where they played a tight game against a team that had no business playing that tight, but they always found a way to win. And then they go off and reel off a bunch of dominant victories after that and go on and win the title or whatever. But there was always that one game every year where they didn't look like themselves, but they still found a way to win. And that is exactly what DeBoer's team did. They didn't play their best game, but you couldn't cut the head off the snake. You allowed them to stay in it. And ultimately, at the very end of the day, they walked out of here with a victory.
How you feel?
Good. How about you? Cold?
It's noon, huh?
Yeah.
It's not 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not nice out there. Be safe out there if you're driving around. Apologize, a few minutes late today. And good intro. Didn't caught some of it. Was trying to navigate downtown traffic here and get here. But obviously a tough weekend. A lot to get to.
Oh, yeah.
We got some news coming out today. Chapel Fowler reporting might have a Black Friday football game to attend in 2 years.
That is something that Carolina has apparently been for, and the folks in the upstate haven't been. But
I'm for.
Sounds like we might be working towards that.
Get to that. Basketball yesterday was a lot of fun. For something that wasn't on TV, I say it all the time. Judge Manning, Casey Manning, Derek Scott do a phenomenal job. I grew up, Tyler, listening to Bob Fulton. He was a very close friend, very, very close friend of my family. My grandfather worked very closely with him, Homer Festerman. My grandfather was actually on the radio broadcast team in the 70s with when Frank McGuire was the coach. And I was close friends with Frank McGuire and that whole group. And so I grew up in the 80s, very familiar with Bob Fulton, but listening more to South Carolina basketball than I did South Carolina football. Now, finally, in the 90s, it became normal to have football games on television. And at that point, up until then, I'd listened, obviously, to a lot of games via the radio. But basketball was always a game. It was always something that just fascinated me, just loved growing up at an early age, listening to Bob Fulton call games and listening yesterday to Derek Scott and Judge Manning. Just absolutely phenomenal and a great game up in Greensboro. Great news. It doesn't count. There's still 0-0, and there's a lot to take away from it. We got the Lamont Paris audio. I've never heard Lamont Paris so excited.
For a loss.
I've never heard Lamont Paris so excited.
No, he was definitely pretty giddy about what he saw and the opportunity that's going to present for them. Again, they got a little over a week until their first game, but he seems pretty excited about this team. So, and the women obliterated Anderson on Friday night. So some positives coming away from the weekend.
Almost covered the 120-point spread I suggested. And then football. And Saturday was beautiful. It was a gorgeous day. You got everything you wanted. The crowd was into it. The 2010 team was back. Apparently, I didn't see Spurrier on the field, but I know he was there.
He was on the sidelines. I don't know if he did this. I don't know if he was with the group when they did the Gamecock chant. But I saw him on the sidelines.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't see him out there with the chant with the name, but the crowd was phenomenal. You had visitors. You had massive visitors. You had the number 2 player in the country out of Maryland, who's committed to Maryland, on campus, the defensive end. All of a sudden, my name blanks. I want to say Zion Lee, but I don't think that's right. Who actually turned up on camp? Actually turned up for an official visit is what the big surprise. I don't know if Gamecock Central reported the same thing. You had this great group of visitors. You get this great environment. The fans, for everything we talked about, on Friday, Tyler, and I said, have hope. At least have hope until kickoff. Have hope until you walk in the stadium. Walk around on Friday. The fans were there, man. It was packed, corner to corner, bottom to bottom, garnet and black. People were into it, and South Carolina was giving them something to cheer for. Whatever it was. They come out, they go down the field. Same old bugaboo. You get to the 5, can't punch it in. Took the points.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of decisions that we can all second guess that we'll discuss today. Your opinion might be different than mine. Obviously, when you lose a game in the manner they did, you think those decisions should have been done.
Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20. Sure.
It's easy to say we should have done this or that differently. South Carolina had every difference. I'll say this. This was interesting to me. Now, I kept saying last week that South Carolina was good enough to win this football game. And they were. They were good enough. South Carolina's not a bad football team. In the offense, we're going to have John Strickland on here in about 20 minutes. And I talked to Strick yesterday. We texted for a minute. And he's gonna break down the offensive line a little bit better. Week 2 with Sean Elliott, I'm not saying that group was a good group. Okay? That would be but they were better.
That was their best performance of the season. Now, there were also changes to the offense that worked around some of their inefficiencies, which we'll get to too, which was good. So across the board, they played the type of game they needed to play to win. You mentioned the crowd as well. Shout out to them, because I think a lot of people went into that game with the mindset of, as soon as things start looking bad, we're going to flip the switch. We're going to start booing, start chanting fire Shula, whatever it may be. And you manage to keep them engaged the entire time. Now, I don't love when you start preparing to rush the field when you don't have the game in hand. But besides that, crowd did its job. You had a 12th man there on Saturday. They played their role. They made it tough for Alabama. And unfortunately, just didn't end up working out at the end.
It was a great environment. They were hitting all the key things with the music and the fireworks. The whole fourth quarter thing played perfectly. It was
works a little bit better in a tight game.
Yeah, it was as perfect as you could draw it up on a beautiful afternoon. The weather was great. It transitioned. You mentioned last week transitioned beautifully into an evening game, and you got every chance in the world to score an upset. I don't know if it would have saved your season. At the end of the day, I kept thinking about this as the game's going on. At the end of the day, you'd have been 4-4 with 2 still left against maybe the best teams in the SEC. Maybe not. I don't know.
Would have made making a bowl a lot more realistic.
It would have made bowl eligible, the potential a lot. But it would have made you feel better about Coastal and Clemson. That's for darn sure. But I don't know what it would have done. South Carolina beat Georgia back in 2019, and that was.
But within a vacuum, it would have been a great win.
It would have been phenomenal, and the players played their. I'll give credit to the coaches. Yeah, they made again. Decisions were made that we all say, shouldn't have done that.
Sure.
That was a bad decision. Yeah, it's easy to say, like you said, easy to say that now, right? Easy to say that. It was easy to say it Saturday afternoon at 7 o'clock. It was easy to say it yesterday. And Lord knows on a rainy Monday when you have to go back to work, it's easy to say. But we'll address all of that because there's a lot to come to again. The basketball game from yesterday was a lot of fun. Tyler has got fashion advice for NFL coaches. We're going to have a Tyler fashion session coming up, heads or tails later on today. We got a lot. There is a lot to get to. I didn't even mention it. There's a new opening. $54 million is nothing now. Chump change in Louisiana. Chump change.
Yeah. Well, especially when the governor has a say in it.
Yeah. What a weekend. What a weekend of college football. What a weekend all the way around. We got a lot to dissect. Again, John Strickland coming up here in about 17 minutes. We'll get into a little bit more. Let's start the halftime show. You're listening to Tyler Head. Who's back there? Producer Ed Bird and myself, Bill Gunner. It is the halftime show. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. It is the end of October. That is right, the end of October. Can you believe it? Well, guess what? Interest rates are starting to lower. They're starting to stabilize. And now is the time maybe you're thinking about refinancing your home in 2026. Maybe you're thinking about purchasing a brand new home or building a home. Well, the first phone call you've got to make is to the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. He's the Mortgage Guru for a reason. 5 years ago, he helped me. I know how well he does his job, how well he takes care of his customers, and that's why I can personally recommend calling him today for your mortgage needs. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. He's the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank.
out of 16's hands unless you're real sure. 2 tight end set. 3rd down and 1. The ball on the 10-yard line. It is Lenoris, left side. 5, 4, touchdown Carolina. Touchdown. Lenoris Sellers from 10 yards out. You got yourself a star. Give him the football. The extra point could make it 22-14. Carolina with 10 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
We all thought we had it. Defense was dominating. I want to circle back. Put this on your list of homework plays. By the way, I'm sorry. I'm going to go from a great play to a very negative play. I'm not picking on you. You're still new around here.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
You're still new, but you've actually been here long enough to be like, yeah, this kind of stuff is randomly, because you've seen 2 of these. You know 2 of these personally through Georgia.
Sure.
And you've seen 2 of them now here. Do more odd play. Now, I mean like stuff that doesn't happen anywhere else. Happen to South Carolina, and I mean it in a negative fashion.
Yeah.
I thought about the 5, not like, oh, it's 1st and goal at the 3. We're at Tennessee. Let's have Jordan Burch throw a pass. Not that kind of like dumb play.
Sure.
I'm talking about like you throw a swing pass to Rasul Faison, who bobbles it twice. It pops up in the air into the hands, no problem whatsoever, of the waiting defender, who then has a clear, untouched 7-yard path to the end zone.
Well, not only that, his other teammate keeps him from falling down, because when he gets it, he kind of stumbles, and the other DB kind of like corrects him, and he can run into the end zone at that point. So he could have like caught it and then fell like the 10, and who knows what happens after that. But his teammate there to keep him upright and allow him to score the touchdown.
Okay, that's one. The backwards pass 2 years ago against Clemson to like start the game when because again, South Carolina's up 3. This is where I'm going with this for a second, because right. I'm going to circle back to the fact the defense was playing a very good game, and they go up 22-14, and you're like, they've only given up 7 points.
Yeah.
And Ty Simpson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn all game. We'll discuss again. But you got that one. The Clemson backwards pass a couple years ago where the crowd's into it, and they're all like, what just happened? And Spencer throws it backwards to Xavier Legette, and Clemson picks it up and runs it in.
The only touchdown scored by them
Clemson
on the
that
game.
night.
Yep.
2018, the crowd's into it. It's supposed to be a big upset, right? We're playing Georgia.
Yep.
Carolina's wearing the script Garnet helmets. Like the second play, Jake Bentley throws a fastball at Rico Dowdle's hands. It goes through Dowdle's hands, off his helmet, bounces up. I can't remember what Georgia player picks it up, picks it off, and runs it all the way back, and actually drops the ball at the 1.
Was maybe DeAndre Baker? Don't quote me
But
on
you
that.
get my point?
Yeah,
You remember that one?
I remember the play.
Remember that one?
I can't remember who did it.
I got those 3. Clearly, the one play of all time, and again, freakish thing, not like, hey, I mean, great play, but David Pollock in the end zone against Corey Jenkins in 0-2. Like, it doesn't feel like this happens. And I say all this because Lenore Sellers runs it in, you go up 22-14, and here's decision number 1 that I saw Shane Beamer had to address. Well, what if you go for 2 and you go up 9? I didn't think that way. Did you?
In hindsight, after the game,
again,
I did.
in hindsight,
in the moment, because a lot of people focus on when you were down 14-6, you scored a touchdown, went for 2 to try and tie it, and you didn't get it. More people focus on that, but in hindsight, being 2020, especially when you have a team like that, the number 4 team in the country on the ropes, I would have much rather seen them go for the 2 there to make it a 2-possession game.
Okay.
When, again, your defense had been dominating, and at worst case, you're still only up 7 points at that point in time, as opposed to the people more upset about going for 2, trying to tie it at 14 earlier.
Okay.
That was more of the 2-pointer I focused on, looking back on the game saying, that's a missed opportunity to me. Now, you didn't foresee them going on a 8-minute drive after that and tying the game, but still, you had an opportunity.
No, and I agree with Shane Beamer on this. You know, Shane Beamer's quote on this is like, hey, they got to go down and score. and it looks, again, South Carolina's given up at that point 1 touchdown in the ball game, and you kind of understood that that was going to happen with that Alabama offense. The fact that the defense had held them to 1 touchdown, you kind of, to me, I'm kind of like, and the fact that then they've got to get the 2-point conversion. And Shane Beamer kind of pointed that out. And I'm with him. I agree with him. I think he made the right call. But that is one of those decisions, again, is if we go through this game today, that now in hindsight, you're like, well, what if you go for 2? And if you don't get it, obviously Alabama would have scored and kicked a field goal to tie it.
Yep.
Or kicked the extra point, I should say. We assume. Who knows? That was a great 2-point play they drew up.
Well, they haven't attempted one all year. They've been sitting on that
my
the
goodness.
entire year, and you can tell that was very well practiced.
That was I give kudos to them on that play. But yeah, that's like play number 1, because you hear that Sellers touchdown. We're all and you know, I've seen people making fun of the student section, and I did for a second get confused. I will admit, I looked down at the student section, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes to go, and I noticed like the tops of the student section were empty. And I was like, where did they leave? And all of a sudden I noticed, I was like, oh, guys.
The Red Rush field.
Oh, no.
They did the exact same thing against LSU last year.
Oh, no. I wasn't there for that
Yeah,
game.
and look, there's a difference. Like the A&M game last year, you knew with like 5-6 minutes to go, all right, they're going to win. You can prep for that. But when you're in a tight game, and again, you can see them coming down the walkways with, I don't know, 5-6 minutes left to go. It's like, guys, this game ain't over yet.
Yeah.
And they were pushed up against the hedges, and it's more deflating to have to walk back to your seats after they let the game get away, as opposed to if you're just sitting in your seats and the game gets away then.
New students. These aren't the old. We got to train these new students here on the ways, on the ways of a close game. But yeah, I did. I looked in the student section. I went, hey, why did the students leave? And then about that time, I looked. I was like, all right. And of course, in my mind, I'm kind of with them. I'm like, what's this going to cost South Carolina? Can they convince the students to wait for Alabama to get off the field? Like I'm actually kind of with them thinking.
Sure.
But question 1 today is, kind of 20 at that point, 21-14. Again, it's easy to sit here today and go, Shane should have gone for 2.
And
it is.
And if you believe in the butterfly effect, if you change one thing, that changes all the other outcomes. So there's no guarantee that if you go for 2 and miss it and it's a 21 that Alabama still goes on that drive, or you fumble or whatever, the entire outcome of the game changes after that. So it's easy to look back on it and say, but in that moment, I would not have been mad attempting to try and make it 23-14 because that makes Alabama's job that much tougher. Again, you can't go back and change it. You still had your opportunities to win the game even after that. But, yeah, that's just, again, when you have a loss like this, you go back and nitpick every little thing and wonder what could have been.
We'll talk with John Strickland because at least one of the silver linings from Saturday, the offensive line seems to be making strides. A false fake phantom holding call and Tree Babalade negated a touchdown. But we'll talk with John Strickland, our offensive line guru, when we come back and get his take on what he's seeing. Sean Elliott taking over. What has he done so far? You're listening to the Halftime Show. It is 12:33 on a awful Monday here in Columbia. And I believe, if I know how to read a radar correctly, green across the state means wherever you're at today, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Greenville, Aiken, Augusta, you also are not experiencing dry weather.
You got a weather rock?
Weather rock.
Yeah. Put it outside. If it's wet, it's raining. If it's dry, it's not.
I should get one of those.
If it's gone, it's probably pretty windy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd invest in one. If I were
All
you.
right. I like that strategy.
Yeah.
John Strickland, do you have a weather rock? Sound like a good investment to me. I'm good with it. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's about as good as looking out the window.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
Well,
Hey,
if you need a second opinion, you got the weather rock.
that's a good point. It's a good point. Looking out the window. Hey, a couple glasses of bourbon and look out the window. No matter what the weather is, it's a great day, right?
That is correct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, it's good to have you back on. I know you're busy on a Monday, so we won't hold you too long here. But I did want to get you on because you're the halftime official offensive line guru, and want to get your take here as we transition from Lonnie Teasley to Sean Elliott. And I thought Saturday was the best performance by the offensive line for the Gamecocks, and wanted to know your thoughts and what you're seeing now in 2 weeks under the tutelage of Coach Elliott. And I don't know what his impact was previously or how much say he had, or if he would just completely stay out of everything. But we want to know your opinion on what the guru, what the expert is seeing.
Yeah, I actually thought this past weekend was probably the offensive line's best overall game. I thought we saw some improvement against a really, really good, front from Alabama. I mean, just ask Tennessee. I think they got after Tennessee, sacked them like 4 times last week, and caused all sorts of problems for Tennessee's offense. But I thought for the most part, the offensive line played their best game. I kind of liked our game plan, how we played, and the offense went about. It's just unfortunate. Basically, 2 turnovers in the game kind of cost us the game this past weekend.
Do you see things differently with technique, with scheme? We had Perry Orth on last week, and one of the things Perry Orth mentioned was a particular block by Boaz Stanley that, or a particular way he ran a block that was incorrect. He blocked and didn't move to the second level to stop somebody, and that Sean Elliott, that was something that was probably taught him, and now Sean Elliott's got to fix it. So I asked that, do you see things differently, or at least changing a little bit with scheme or technique that they're doing?
I think we did a few different things scheme-wise that we haven't been doing this season. There was a few of that, but, it really comes down to, I think Sean coaches different than Lonnie did, and maybe just that coaching and the style that Coach Elliott coaches with, is having a better response from those guys up front. And I think you could see it. I mean, again, we did have a false start, but other than that, I mean, they seemed disciplined. They seemed to come off on blocks, on double teams, moving up the linebacker. So I don't know. I thought it was a good day. The pass blocking was there, giving LaNorris a nice pocket. I mean, if you watch the long pass down to Nick for the touchdown, I mean, the pocket was beautiful, the way they ran. So I don't know. I just thought overall Saturday it was much better against a very talented Alabama team.
You mentioned the game plan there being different, and Shane Beamer alluded to it after the game that, he told Mike Shula, hey, we're going to simplify this, going to try to get the ball out quicker, all those kind of things. When as an offensive lineman, more often than not, you don't have to hold your blocks quite as long because the ball is going to be getting out a lot quicker. Does that change anything, mindset, or how you go about a playing game like that, or is it all kind of still business as usual?
I think it's all still business as usual. I mean, it all comes down to just doing your job, no matter what play call is called. I have been wanting to see this season. I may have talked about it last time I was on with you guys the other week, but I wanted to see the ball get out of LaNorris's hand quicker, make things happen a little faster. And I think that benefits your offensive line versus really good defenses. So we did see some of that, and I thought the run blocking on top of all that was really, really, really well executed. So, I mean, that's a positive sign going forward. I mean, listen, you got 4 games left, and the talent on this South Carolina team, we have talent where we can match up with anybody. I mean, you just look up and down the roster. There's talent here. It's just all about executing, and we'll see how it goes from here on out, but I think you got to be a little encouraged from what you saw from the offensive line Saturday.
People are going to ask about running it directly up the middle, 4th and 1. Or excuse me, not 4th and. I mean, there have been 4th and 1s, but your take on these inside runs that just don't seem to be working right now. What may be the issue? What could be correctable on that? If there's something different, your thoughts on those?
Well, there was people questioning if you go back to the Oklahoma game last week. Now we're down on the goal line, and it's 3rd and 3 on that first drive. And, yes, we did run it up the middle, and we got stuffed. But all that is you're in jumbo set. You had 2 tight ends that are responsible for the right side DN and the backside linebacker, and they just stayed on the double team and didn't come off on the linebacker. If they pick up the linebacker there, I mean, it's a touchdown. I mean, it was a great play call by Shula. I mean, if the tight end makes the block, you walk into the end zone right there. So, everybody questioning why are we running up the middle? Well, it's football. You run the ball up the middle. The guys just have to do their job. And honestly, I thought they all played pretty darn well here this past Saturday.
What was your take on the holding by Tree that ended up wiping out a touchdown from Sellers?
That was a terrible call. Obviously I'm at the game, and you see the replay on the big board. But when I got home and watched it yesterday, not a good call. I thought that was pretty poor. He definitely did not hold the guy. The guy was already fallen too. So I thought that was a bad call and one that cost us 7 points clearly.
Looking ahead, you mentioned it, reason to be optimistic. Mississippi this week, and then the bye week, and then you wrap up with A&M, Coastal, and Clemson. What can Sean Elliott do? What is it possible for a coach to do between this week and next week, but then you get the bye week to continue to improve this offensive line coaching-wise or technique-wise? Is it just pounding the same thing Monday through Wednesday, or what would you have them do that continues to improve them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you just got to keep coaching them up. I mean, that's really all you can do. Try to get these guys in the right position to make the plays they can make. And I think, this past week you saw a little bit of, a few different things that I'm not going to give away, but some things that Sean Elliott's known for. So I think you could see his hand on a little bit of this offense this past weekend. So I think once we just start repping it and getting used to it, I think these guys will be better. But I just got to say, our defense, they've done the job all year, and it's unfortunate that the 2 turnovers we had this game resulted in touchdowns, and ultimately that's kind of what lost you the game.
Before we let you out, I got to ask, what's the current bourbon of choice? You were a bourbon man. I have been a bourbon man until about 2 months ago, and then unfortunately there's a abrupt stop to that health-wise. But give us out there for the bourbon drinkers the current bourbon of the John Strickland bourbon of choice.
I mean, honestly, my favorite, I was in Kentucky 3 weeks ago. We went up to the Bourbon Trail, and the best one I've had here over the past couple months would be the new Old Forester birthday bourbon. So if you can get a taste of it at a bar or, get lucky enough and find one, it's definitely snag.
He is an expert in that, too. Not just good at the offensive line breakdown, but good at the bourbon takes. And we always appreciate it, buddy. Again, I know Mondays are busy for you, but we definitely look forward to having you back. Definitely get a chance to get you in studio one late afternoon, late in the week, and really cut up with you. But glad you could join us for a few minutes today.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good week, and we'll see what we can do on the road this weekend.
We will. Take care, buddy. Good to hear from you. John Strickland, Real quick, about a minute, thoughts on anything he said?
Yeah, I mean, again, we saw it with our eyes. They played a whole lot better on Saturday, which is encouraging. Again, second week under Sean Elliott, you're seeing things move the right direction. Unfortunately, most of the penalties came after the snap this time, which I guess you can live with more than the before the snap stuff. So still some things to clean up, but definitely progress being made, which is good.
We'll come back. We got a little Tyler Head, heads or tails, and also a new segment that we're going to start. And we're looking for an endorsement for it. If you have a clothing company or a clothing store, this is perfect for you. Tyler Head gives fashion advice to the NFL coaches. What are you doing out there? One coach really needs to make a change because his team got plowed wearing the pants he wore. We'll tell you about that. It's the Halftime Show. Wrapping up hour number 1 on a Monday. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Burrs. We give Captain Dave Adair the day off. He's like our starting pitcher around here.
Yeah, we tax his arm quite a bit.
We give him the day off. So we'll do that. 803-404-6100. I see a lot of you texting in. I'm going to get to a lot of these coming up here in just a little bit, and in the next hour. Next hour, I also want to get into some basketball because that was a lot of fun yesterday. I was listening on the radio again. Casey Manning, Judge Manning, and Derek Scott do a phenomenal job. I'll say this. I'll just say this real quick before we get into it next time. Yesterday, my excitement grew. Excitement meter grew. We'll talk about it.
Hope springs eternal for a new season always.
They've pulled me back in. I am back in. 803-404-6100. All right. You got so normally we do we normally do heads or tails?
Yep.
And this is like a version of that, but we're going to start a new segment. It's Tyler's fashion advice. And yesterday in the NFL, now I noticed it once.
Yes.
But you're ready to go on a rant. Are you ready to go on a rant? I want a good rant.
Sure. So,
I want a very impassioned fashion rant from you. I want you to get outside of your comfort zone, really let people know how you feel about what you saw occurring or what is occurring with these NFL coaches. If you own a clothing store, if you're a clother, we want you to sponsor this, endorse Tyler.
Yeah.
He is our secondary I'm the fashionista. He is the secondary fashionista around here. Our show is the fashion show. But you were seeing is it a trend?
I guess so. And look, I have never been accused of being a very fashionable person.
You are. You're fantastic.
I wear the same type of things every single day for a reason.
You're very humble, Judge.
So perhaps I missed this trend. But I knew Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins did it. But watching the Dolphins-Falcons game yesterday, which, by the way, Falcons, God, what an awful performance.
Oh, God.
Raheem Morris also wearing.
Are they that bad, by the way?
It's not good.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Raheem Morris also wearing what can only be described as capri type of pants that the cuffs come about halfway up your shin. They don't go all the way down. So there's a separation between the top of your shoes, top of your socks, and where the bottom of your pants are. And again, I knew McDaniel did it, and like he's kind of a quirky dude. I'm like, okay, some weird fashion trend or whatever. But he's not the only one. Apparently, Aaron Glenn's doing this too. Coaches around the NFL are wearing capri pants, and I don't like it. I don't know if this is because, again, they all wear the Nike merch that the league gives them. So is this Nike trying to push a new, like, running pant or something along those lines? But it's very, to me, unbecoming of a head coach of an NFL team to be standing there with capri pants on while your team's getting your butt kicked like the Falcons yesterday. It just doesn't look right, man. Look, I'm very traditional. You don't have to be out there in a full suit like Tom Landry did back in the day, but khakis in a team polo. What happened to that? Well, why can't we get back to the simplicity of college coaches do that? Great. But NFL, I guess, if Nike has a new product they want to push, like, hey, you want to wear these pants that are too short for your legs? Sure, I'll do that. Well, it makes you look dumb when you're losing.
I like this. Good passion. How did you feel about the Bill Belichick? How do you normally feel, especially NFL, about the cutoff sweatshirts that he would go with?
You know what? When he was winning.
Well, wait a minute. All right, now we have to circle back.
When he was winning.
If you're winning, are capri pants okay for NFL coaches?
Well, I don't, unless I'm missing somebody. I haven't seen anybody winning with them on yet, consistently enough.
Okay.
The Jets did get a win yesterday, first one for Aaron Glenn, but not a consistently
Bengals, by the way.
enough to warrant it becoming a thing. But yeah, it looks weird, man. And look, you can act however you want to act, but there's just something weird about an NFL head coach dressing with capri pants that bothered me yesterday.
Now, are you slightly nostalgic for the old school days of NBA coaches in the very expensive Armani suit and ties? Because we've gone away from that. COVID got us out of that.
Yeah, and same thing with college basketball, where everyone just kind of wears the quarter zip and, maybe some khakis or maybe sweatpants too. Maybe just wear the whole jumpsuit. Like, that one doesn't bother me as much. If capris start showing up on courtside, then I'm going to have a problem with that. But it just looked very weird. And I wasn't the only one. I had a lot of people weigh in on my tweet. It's just like, well, come on, man. What are we doing?
So my question would be then, does this make you appreciate baseball managers, guys in their 70s, now wearing the uniform?
Sure. Again, it's second nature now. You don't really think about it, but yeah, because it could be worse, I guess.
There you go.
All right.
And
On a positive note, Broncos wearing the Orange Crush uniforms. Always a great look.
made you feel good?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, there is your fashion segment. We were looking for an endorsement for that. So contact our sales department and tell them you want to be a part of that segment. Hour 2 on the way. More football discussion and a little basketball discussion. And coaches are fired.
I didn't talk to him just now in the locker room. I mean, we when they broke the run at the end, we let them score so we could get the ball back. And I went up to him on the sideline and I told him, look, we just let them score so you get an opportunity to go win this thing. And that's not, what happened. And when it was 22-all, I told Mike on the headphones, let's, in my mind, we got the best player in the stadium today, and let's let him go win it. And we just weren't quite able to do that.
Those are the words of Shane Beamer afterwards. A lot to digest there from the game, whether it is the Lenore Sellers fumble or the decision there at the very end, again, to let keyword, and we're going to address all of this. There's a lot to get to, but to let Alabama score, after they had the first down.
Yes. Important distinction.
And that is important to, yes. Now, I think that's hard on the defense.
Sure.
But I also agree wholeheartedly with that call, and that was, to me, the right decision. Now, again, we talked earlier in hour number one about the 2-point decision. And a matter of fact, we had gotten one of the text messages. I want to get to some of these text messages coming up here in a segment or two on these. And one of the people that weighed in earlier, Jason, said, not sure if this had been discussed, but the game was lost when Beamer did not go for 2 on the last touchdown. Would have made Alabama change how they called the rest of the game. Outcome might not have changed, but play calling definitely would have. Well, also remember, we can't guarantee that South Carolina would have gotten it.
Yeah.
South Carolina getting the ball inside into the end zone from anywhere inside the 5 isn't exactly the odds actually are better or not good.
And again, going back and thinking about it, I would have personally wanted to see more aggression because, again, you have the number 4 team in the country on the ropes. You just went on. You got a gift by that muffed punt, allowing you to continue that drive, which you cashed in for a touchdown. That seems like the opportunity to try and take advantage and put the game more out of reach. Now, there's still 10 minutes left to go in the game. Alabama still could have gotten the ball multiple times and still won the game, but you're right. It does change how they approach that next drive because they went on a 10-play or 14-play, 79-yard, 8-minute drive where they dinked and dunked and kept it short and just really ate up the clock, knowing they only had 1 touchdown to get, as opposed to if they know they're down 2 scores, time's working against them, they probably call that a lot differently, and who knows what happens after that. But, yeah, going back and thinking on, like, man, I might have –
gone for it. Remember, let's say go for it. You would have gone for it because
right. And
I'll be dead honest. I don't think they would have gotten it. They would have run up the middle.
Worst case, you're up by 7. If Alabama still goes on that long drive, they're probably kicking the extra point too, and you're still in a tie ball game as you ended up being, at the very end anyway. But yeah, I was more on that 2-point attempt than the earlier one that you missed, which made it 14-12.
Okay, so that was one. So we discussed that earlier, and we can certainly circle back to that one. The second one comes to the end of the game decision there, and whether or not to let them score. Papa Joe asked, why did we not blitz then on that play? You know what? I didn't think about this until yesterday. And Will Helms, who I know y'all tend to have on the program previous to, I don't know if you have it on the Gamecock Central. I don't know if it's on the which hour y'all have it in.
Yeah, it typically is.
But the point being is Will Helms comes on, and I tweeted about the fact that, again, Shane Beamer was very clear to let them score after the first down. I really didn't think about how dumb of a play call it was by Alabama on that play with Jeremy Bernard.
It was risky when you think about it because it was a wildcat snap. They faked the end around, and then he just took it and ran on a 3rd and 10. Now, I guess in that instance, you're trying.
No, there's more to it. It's not that play. Where did they run to?
To the right.
To the short side.
To the short side.
If he gets bumped out of bounds, and you could stop him if you go. Now, South Carolina, and Will pointed this out, and you go back and watch the film on it. I mean, in the tweet that Will sent to me and a few others, it was really funny. Ryan Grubbs, the offensive coordinator, he called him a psycho. And it was funny the way he labeled it, because in that scenario, South Carolina lined up, and I got to go back and find the tweet, but South Carolina kind of played for Alabama to play to the wide side of the field, which would have been going back toward the Carolina
Right.
sideline.
Right.
And Jeremy Bernard got the snap, as you mentioned, and ran right, which was the short side of the field. And you go, well, what does that matter? Well, if South Carolina gets a hand on Jeremy Bernard, doesn't tackle him, if you think ahead and you go, knock him out of bounds, you stop the clock and you force obviously if you stop him before the 15-yard line, you force I assume you force a field goal. I assume they're kicking the field goal. That was actually a wildly risky play call on Bama's side.
It is.
To risk not stopping for him to do that.
I will say.
And a good play. But by the way, that's the key of outsmarting your opponent. No offense to Clayton White, who called a hell of a game. And his defense, I don't care what anybody says, his defense is getting better, and he deserves every penny he's making, and they're a good defense. But he is a very, very good defensive coordinator. But on that one, Ryan Grubbs got him.
Well, I think, in going back and watching the play here, he doesn't get all the way to the perimeter till after he's at the first down marker. So I'm sure he was told, hey, whatever you do, don't go out of bounds, stop the clock, because, again, that would have been Carolina's only chance to buy some time there in that scenario. So it is definitely a risky play call, but I don't think Jeremy Bernard would have allowed himself to go out of bounds before getting to the sticks, because he was basically running on the numbers all the way until the first down marker. I think no matter
But there was also nobody there to turn him further.
There wasn't anybody there.
Like, he doesn't, and for the record, and I went back and looked at this, and you're watching it, DQ Smith doesn't really meet him until the 13-yard line.
Yeah, so DQ comes up and gets an angle on him right at the first down marker and works him to the outside and then puts his hands up. And, again, even if DQ Smith tried to tackle him, he would have gotten him at the 11 or 10-yard line or something along those lines. But, yeah, he had a wide-open lane to get to the first down marker, which was the intention, obviously. But I would have been very surprised if Jeremy Bernard allowed himself to go out of bounds prior to the sticks. You
know how it works. Guys make this, and you wonder if people, if people are, I say people, if a player or two are over there, does he run directly into him and just realize we do, or does he try and make them miss? Because I don't know. There's again, there are so many things, and I've seen this. I've been a part of South Carolina. I've watched so many South Carolina football games where, again, we play this game of, well, if this singular play happens, if that singular play happens, if this one little thing, the ball bounces that way.
I think there's an element of it, too, given the fact that it's a tie game, right? You are not trailing at this point in time. Kicking a field goal would have won you the game, but you're not going to lose the game by what happens in this sequence outside of getting a kick, block, and return or something along those lines. So I feel like there's a little more leeway as opposed to if they were down by 1 point in this exact same scenario. Hey, maybe then we'll just run it to the middle of the field, line up the kicker and all that kind of stuff. You almost kind of had a little bit of house money to play with for a call like that because you knew, hey, even if this doesn't go the way we need it to, we're not going to necessarily lose the game because of it, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm with you. Well, you assume so, but if you get knocked out, the kicker for Alabama was not. Now, listen, here's the other part of that. You go, well, listen, kicking a. And this is where we can all agree to disagree. Alabama scores. There's 35 seconds left on the clock. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, 35. Yep.
35, I believe. The biggest mistake in all this is Nick Harbor's decision. I think he could have now. I'd have to really go back and watch and see exactly where the ball bounces out is. I think he could have, once it got loose from him, taken a knee in the end zone.
I'm watching it back now. See,
I believe he could have let it go in the end zone and taken a knee.
I think so. I'm not 100% on that because I don't know if that counts as a live ball fumble because you can get a safety on a kickoff.
I believe because he did not have a connect. He did not have. I believe I could be
because he touches it at the 3, and then it rolls back.
But he touches it. He doesn't have possession of it.
Yeah, but still, the touching on a kickoff. Well, you don't have to touch it on a kickoff for the other team to possess the ball. If they get to the ball before you, it's their ball no matter what. So, and I don't feel comfortable enough saying he could have taken a knee in the end zone for sure because I'm not 100% on that one. And look, credit to Alabama for making that a difficult kick to field because that's what they were trying to do. So instead of giving Carolina the ball at the 25, they give them to them at the 9-yard line and have to go 91 yards, no timeouts. And
also you wasted 6 seconds.
Yes.
I think it was 6 seconds. And then on top of that, And Lenore Sellers, look, my heart goes out to that. Yeah, he did so many things in that game and just fought and fought and fought. And, yeah, the poor kid has another pivotal fumble against Alabama. The fumble last year, in my opinion, with Rocket Sanders cost them the game, even though it was at a different time and different place in the game. But Lenore Sellers played his rear end off, and I feel for the kid because I have also, and this is, we got to get to this, the decision to run it there, to go up there. I have no problem with that call, but the pass to Brady Hunt, this is where Lenore Sellers' football IQ, I don't know what he's thinking. There's 29 seconds left. They wasted 18 seconds.
Yeah.
On you got to score a touchdown. You got to go 90 yards, and you throw a 5-yard out pass to Brady Hunt that he can't get to the sideline. Like, he couldn't get to there was no way he was going to get there.
Sure. It was the same situation as the end of the half against Oklahoma last week, where
right.
time ran out and you almost had the exact same play go to the other side where Hunt gets tackled. They basically sit on him and allow time to run out, and I think it's worth debating as well, should that route have even been in there as an option now? And I get it. You can't see everybody on the field at all times. He does have Attaway open for what would have been a first down to at least stop the clock and, give you another chance there as opposed to the 10 seconds that ran off for Brady Hunt. But, that unfortunately right there at the very end, it ended the game essentially.
Yeah.
He had one more play, he got sacked, and that was it. But, yeah, you're not really gaining anything. If anything, throwing it out of bounds at that point in time would have been
right.
better
That's
option,
what you do. You drop back.
That saves you 12 seconds.
I don't. Again, we're over 48 hours. We're almost 48 hours removed, but I don't know what the other routes were. I haven't seen the behind the 22-man view, but I don't know what the other routes were. But at worst cases, you chunk it downfield. You take your chance and you chunk it way downfield, and you see what happens.
Now, to be fair, he had a lot of pressure in his face. Guy off the right side beat Thompson as right as Sellers' throw, and he's getting his hands up. So he didn't have a ton of options there in terms of routes down the field, and he's already turned and looking at Brady Hunt. But yeah, you don't even
look at Brady Hunt. I mean, if he isn't standing a yard away from the sideline, you throw it well over his head into the stands. Because if you're looking at it real quick, and we got about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Is there at what second does Brady Hunt catch it? Like
so Brady
26 seconds
catches it at 25. And he goes.
Also, Brady Hunt turns upfield.
Yeah, turns upfield. He doesn't try and get out of bounds. And then by the time you get set to snap the ball the next time, you're at
11,
13, 12 seconds when you clocked it for the final play.
So 803-404-6100. That to me is more. And again, and I'll say this, and we can all agree to disagree. It's everybody's personal preference. You go play EA Sports, and I'll play EA Sports, and we'll do it differently. I'd rather have the ball.
I would too. No,
than have them kick essentially what I think would have been about a 20-yard field goal to win the game.
And again, it's
down the middle.
Important to remember, it's after he got the first down. If they stop him short, different story. Once he gets past the first down marker, you're giving your opportunity, your offense one more time. Didn't end up working out, but I don't disagree with the call.
We'll get into more of this. Obviously, there's just so much from Saturday as we continue to address plays. We'll talk about that decision to run Lenore Sellers, because I know people are talking about that as well. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. It is the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where on days like today, well, I hope you are not having a leak. And if you've looked at the weather forecast, by the way, It ain't just today, buddy. It's coming for the next several days. So my question to you, how is your roof holding up? Now, I've been telling you before, you should have already been in touch with Mid-State Roofing, but these are the days that if you come to your business, if you show up at your office, maybe you go back home and you find a leak, it's time to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. You just got to give them a phone call. That's 803-356-1919. Again, 803-356-1919. That's how you can reach out to Mid-State Roofing. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they are there for you. So you discover a leak tonight, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, don't worry. Mid-State Roofing is there for you. 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. It is 1:20 on a just awful, rainy Monday afternoon, but I hope you're doing okay. The sun will eventually come back into the week. It's going to be chilly. We are officially entering really good fall weather. Halloween on Friday night. Tyler and I will find something unique to dress up with on Friday, so you'll have to tune into the live stream, see what we look like. Check it out. Go to YouTubeTV.com. And not YouTube TV. That would be neat if we were on YouTube TV. One day, maybe. One day. But we're on YouTube.
Yes.
Go to YouTube.
That's free.
See the Game TV radio, and you can find us there. You can live stream us each and every afternoon while you're sitting at your office and be like, look at those two guys. How about that? And you get to see producer Ed Bird as well. See what he looks like sitting back there as he waves. 803-404-6100. So still a lot to dissect from this loss. And text comes in, Tyler. Let me go back and get a little bit of a long text. I don't want to. Wayne here said, let's face it, you had one team who played to win and the other who played not to lose. Fundamental difference in the two teams. Will we ever become the former team and leave the latter behind? I don't think they played to lose. I don't see how anybody thinks they played. I don't agree with that.
I think this is where the scrutiny of what ended up being the next last drive where Sellers fumbled comes into play here, because you had a run with Fuller on first down, got a yard. You had the free play on second down because it jumped offside.
So close
you
to
took
hitting
a
big
shot.
play. Yeah.
I think it was Brady Hunt that you took a shot with and missed downfield. And then Sellers on a 2nd and 4 ran the quarterback draw up the middle. And it would have, had he not fumbled, been about a 3rd and 2 with 1:50 left, 2 timeouts at like your 38-yard line.
Right.
I'm not upset about that at all. And again, Sellers had a lot of success throughout the entire day. And that's a point of the game where you're obviously trying to score something to win the game, but not trying to do it too quickly. Like, yeah, sure, taking a shot down the field and scoring an explosive play would have been great, but then you give Alabama the ball back with, I think, 2 of their timeouts at that point in time, and time to go down and score. So you have to kind of manage it a little bit. And at that point in time, you would have had 1:45 to go, 2 timeouts, 2 yards away from a first down, everything's still in front of you. I'm not mad at that play call at all. I don't think it was too conservative. I think you were working to get that first down and then open it up a little bit more, while also trying to use up a little bit of the clock, so you didn't give Alabama the opportunity, if they got the ball back, drive down and score on you. So a lot going on there, but I'm not upset with the way that they went about that.
I told Austin, my son, as we were sitting there, again, phenomenal crowd on Saturday, just incredible crowd. But I told him as we were sitting there, one of the big parts of that game, underrated part, was South Carolina's defense had to hold on for dear life and not they needed to get one more stop against Alabama and get that thing to the 2-minute mark.
Yes.
To get rid of the 2-minute mark. That was underrated big play right there, because it adjusted how South Carolina was going to call the final 2 minutes. Right? Like you didn't, and as we kind of walk through this, that changed everything, because Alabama scores with 2:16 left. And I thought it was imperative. I don't want to say I had given up on the defense, but you could tell they were gassed.
Sure.
Like on that particular drive, they
had just gotten worked for 8 straight minutes for 14 plays.
And Quarter says, I agree with the texter, half of the fourth quarter play calling changed. They didn't have the ball. Alabama had the ball for 8 minutes. What do you mean half of the play calling? Alabama had the ball for 8 minutes.
In the beginning of the quarter, you
scored with 10 minutes to go to take the lead.
Yeah. Now, you did have to punt from your own end of the field, but you got the ball back. Obviously went down there, got the touchdown, take the lead, and then they went on an 8-minute drive that ate up the rest of the quarter, and you didn't get the ball back again until the drive where Sellers fumbled.
I was going to say,
you just didn't have the ball in the fourth quarter.
You got it back with 2:16 to go. You scored with 10 minutes to go to take the lead, and then you didn't get back till 2:16. But anyway, I go back. If the defense could have stopped them and got that thing to the 2-minute timeout, and Alabama scores on the other side of the 2-minute timeout, okay, then I think it changes how you can play, or how you decide to play the final 2 minutes. Because the absolute worst-case scenario, right? Absolute worst-case scenario is now you're tied, is the fact that you get it, the 2-minute timeout's going to come into play. You mentioned, I think Alabama had 2 timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you go basically 3 and out,
Yes.
3 passes, even worse, to stop the clock. and Alabama gets it just below the 2-minute mark.
Yeah.
Having basically stopped it with passes and the 2-minute minute. That's the worst case scenario. So you run the ball in the first down. I'm like, okay, I totally get that because now it gets you to the 2-minute mark and it eliminates that free timeout.
Extra stoppage.
It
yes,
eliminates
yes.
that free timeout. Well, so now you come out, you run a pass play, and you're going to run, we assume, or you're going to run a pass play. I guess I shouldn't, you know what assuming is. But they're going to run a pass play, and you get the false start, you take the shot, and because of that, now it's 2nd and 5, and not only is it 2nd and 5, but it's 2nd and 5 at the 35.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a much bigger
Yeah,
deal
you
than,
have,
say, being at the 25 or the 20.
You have 2 plays to get a first down at that point in time.
Right.
And again, if Sellers doesn't fumble, it's like 3rd and 2.
And there's, by the way, after that, there was a minute 53 because of him scrambling around running after the 2-minute. So you're exactly right. You run that, and he's got to get 5 yards. Let's just say he was getting 3, and it was 3rd and 2. You still have plenty of time. You're right. You have the 2 timeouts. And you're essentially at the 40. We'll just say you got to get the first down, but you're essentially at the 40. And I think once you get that, now you're moving because, as you said, I want to kick the field goal as the clock hits 000. I don't want to kick the field goal and leave Alabama time.
Yeah, because they still had 2 timeouts, I think, at that point in time, and you would have forced them to start burning those timeouts, which, again, you account for and how you kind of plan for that. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Now, again, it didn't work, and obviously you got to give credit to Deontay Lawson for making a good play because Sellers' knee was about 3 inches away from the ground. He just comes in and rips the ball out. Like, that's a heads-up play made by a really, really good linebacker that's going to be playing on Sundays one day in the very near future. Like, yeah, Sellers obviously needs to hold on to the ball there, but that was just a really good defensive play that sometimes just happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate. I was a little surprised, and I get it. His knee, I guess, was not down yet. I was a tad surprised in that scenario they didn't look at it a little longer. Like, I'll admit I've not gone back to that play and looked at it specifically because there's no need to see it again. I know what happened. But the point being on that is I like the play. And look, you don't know. He's your best play. He is your best player.
And he was having success on the ground. It's not like he was getting nothing all day.
And if let's say he breaks it for 5 yards. Let's just say something goes crazy and he breaks it. I know that had not really happened. But let's just say something pops open and he breaks it for 5 yards. Okay, now you got your first down. Now you're across the 40. I will say if you want to play a little bit of devil's advocate against me, we are all, I think now, unfortunately, in a situation with William Joyce where we're holding our breath when he goes to kick field goals. So I don't exactly know how far down the field you had to get for all of us to feel comfortable. I don't know if we had to get to the 20. Normally, in years past, I probably would have said like the 30 or the 35, which then you're talking look, that'd have been 50, and he had the distance on one earlier. It was to the right. He had the distance. But, I mean, again, if you're at the 40, with about, let's just say, a minute 40 to go, and you've got to go another 40 or 50 yards, I think you feel comfortable with that in that time frame and 2 timeouts.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if it's 3rd and 2 with a minute 50 or however much time was left on the clock, then we're not talking about it because you still have all your opportunities in front of you. Unfortunately, Sellers fumbled, and the rest is history, but I didn't have a problem with it. 803-404-6100. Again, you can continue to weigh in. We will get into, all right, moving forward a little bit. What about what does this mean going forward? Can they recover? We'll also talk some basketball. Yesterday, a great exhibition game against North Carolina State. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
I would think so. I mean, we've been heartbroken after every game because no matter how we played in these losses that we've had, we've truly expected to win every game and expected to win, and we're really hurt when we didn't. And this one really, really, really hurts when you got the number 4 team in the country on the ropes at home, and you let it get away from you. There's a lot of hurt. So. Yeah, they don't want to feel this feeling again. But to me, if we don't want to feel this feeling again, let's figure out how to make more plays in the fourth quarter and not let it come down to where, they make more plays than we do.
Those are the words of Shane Beamer Saturday. Look, Coach wears his heart on his sleeve. I quite frankly don't know if South Carolina's ever had a coach as, I don't know if I'd say invested in the team, but Steve Spurrier was a different kind of coach. Lou Holtz was a different kind of coach. Brad Scott back in the day, there wasn't the same way that you could connect with the fans and connect with, I think you did it more privately, if you will, in the booster meetings.
Sure.
Than you do now. And the one thing I'll say about Shane, I know what it means to him. And I don't think he's just, when they lose, I genuinely, he takes it. He takes it to heart.
Sure.
And, yeah, the locker room is hurt, but I know he's hurt too. And I know they've got to find a way to fix it. They know the season has gone off the rails. They're not dumb. They know what the preseason predictions were. They know what the expectations were. And so, Tyler, here you are. You got this great opportunity on Saturday. You've played your hearts out. Yeah, you've made mistakes. Everything hadn't been perfect. Yeah, there's things we can question. But here you are with 2:16 to go. A little more than 2:16. 2:16 is when Bama scored. But you have every chance to pull off and knock off the number 4 team in the country. It would have been a great victory. It would have been a great day. You had a great recruiting crowd. You had a great recruiting group on campus. I mean, there was so many things going for you. And unfortunately, it just gets completely away from you. So the question becomes, now you go on the road. You got to play a Mississippi team that is, I think maybe the best in the league. I think maybe the best in the league. I know they're not perfect. I know they got a loss, but to me, the SEC's a very difficult conference. Here's the crazy thing, and I'll say this. This is a bigger discussion, maybe hour number 3 for us.
Sure.
I just don't know if Mississippi's a national championship team. But I don't know if the SEC has a national championship team.
Yeah, Ole Miss's defense isn't spectacular. I'll give them credit because on Saturday it was impressive that after a tough emotional loss at Georgia, they went on the road against a really good defense and were able to win against Oklahoma in an ugly, kind of nasty weather type of game. So they rebounded there. But yeah, you look at their talent on offense, and it's just as good, if not better, than Alabama, in a lot of areas. So you're going to have the same tough tasks to face in addition to going on the road, because when we looked at this schedule for the 3 games in a row against ranked opponents, you looked at the Alabama game as maybe the most gettable, right? Like, it's at home. Alabama's coming off of facing 4 straight ranked opponents. That one seems like one, if you're going to get any of the 3, will be the one to get. And you came so darn close, but unfortunately came up short. It's like, okay, now your task is going up against 2 of the hottest teams in the country in their venues in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. John wants to weigh in. John, how you doing? What's your thoughts on how Saturday went?
What's going on, guys? This is JBK calling in. Man, I thought I had the upset call, Bill. I said I thought I had the upset call. I'm going to disagree with you on something, and I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on this, and yours and Tyler's. Man, I make him kick the field goal. And, if I had more time, a little bit more time, I would go with the let them score, but you just didn't have enough time. Just almost impossible. If you look at the odds on this thing, I guarantee you, if you just say, okay, we're going to run X amount of plays to see how long we can score versus them missing a field goal, the odds are just better that guy's going to get out there and choke you. You're known as Beamer ball. You can't score if you don't have the ball. But by the exact same token, I just thought that was a bad look. And what really made it worse is, all DQ could do is he pulls his hands back. So then everybody in the world is like, oh, my God, what's he doing? And I understand the theory behind it. And, it's a flip of the coin. But, man, I just wish that they would have done it. But more than that, I wish that we would have had a couple of different play calls. That last time we got whenever Sellers fumbled. And then, of course, I think he hurt himself a little bit in the post game when he said he was putting his hand down to brace the ball. And that's when the guy ripped it out. And if you look, that's kind of what happened. He was going to brace himself and lost the ball. But from an odd standpoint, don't you think we got a better shot with the guy missing the field goal?
No, I don't. Look, Jeremy Bernard had the first down, and that was the thing. They said if we can stop them, then we force them to kick the field goal. You can play anywhere between the 25 and the 15. And thank you for the phone call, John. I appreciate it. Good to hear from you again. Again, anywhere in between the 25 and the 15, now you're talking about a 30-yard, let's just say a 30-yarder.
Yeah.
A little bit different. And, of course, let's be clear on this. Shane Beamer and Clayton White specifically said if they get the first down, stop them. If DQ Smith makes the tackle, it is at no earlier than the 13. Now, if you want to say it was bad defense, you want to say it was bad defense call, yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. And, yes, Ryan Grubbs got the best of Clayton White on that play. Ryan Grubbs, again, I liked it. Will Helms called him a psycho.
Sure.
Ran into the short side of the field, ran into the boundary, and ran into the short side of the field. And if you have people over there, I don't know. Tyler says he thinks that Jeremy Bernard had common sense to stay inbounds, maybe so. But if you had guys over there that maybe forced him out toward the sideline, maybe you could have bumped him out and stopped the clock. But again, the strategy was if he gets the first down, let him score. DQ meets him right at about the 13, 14, 15. So now DQ's got to shove him out of bounds at the 13. And what I think happens, hypothetically, is Alabama runs it inside then Alabama takes their time. They run it inside the 10. I'll just say they get 5 yards. We knock them out at the 13. Let's just say the 13. Where did DQ technically put his hands up? Where could have DQ knocked him out at?
So he puts his hands up right about the 10, 11-yard line.
Okay, the 10, 11.
Yeah.
Puts his hands. So technically he could have bumped him right there. He could have two-hand shoved him out of bounds. We'll call it the 11. We'll be generous.
Yeah, he could have got him out the 11, 12-yard line if he would have shoved him at that point.
Okay.
But again, the clock would stop.
Well, but so now he's at the 11.
Yes.
All right, so now Alabama's going to run it to the left.
Yes.
And they're going to run it whatever they need. And I'm going to go with the odds on this. They're going to get 4 yards.
Maybe.
5 yards, I think.
You're going to end up with a less than 30-yard field goal to win the game with no time left.
Let's just say they're kicking from the 6. What is that? That's a 20-yarder?
Yeah.
21-yarder?
Yeah, basically.
10 yards in, 5 yards back, 20 yards. I don't like those odds. I'd rather have the football. Now, again, the dumb play, we kind of gloss over the fact that how bad the kicker, that hurt more than anything else.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that. We'll get into some basketball. Hour 3, we'll talk more basketball. We'll finish up some conversation on this. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 150 on a Monday, a bad Monday, just an awful Monday. It's a napping Monday. Hopefully, most of y'all are still awake at the office yet and pulled a George Costanza and gone up underneath the desk. Now you're hiding from the boss. You just having a cup of coffee under the desk and staying away from everybody. But if you are, I totally understand and agree with you. If I had a day job, I would be doing the same thing. And you can remember that. If I'm never working here and I come apply for a job at your office, that is how I operate. 803-404-6100. We'll finish up this conversation because, Tyler, again, I think a lot of people don't kind of understand the decision there. They just think South Carolina let Alabama score on 3rd and 10 from the 25. Again, that's not what happened. Shane Beamer and Clayton White told the team if they get the first down, let them score. And again, it's all preference. I get it.
They're not the first football team to do this, by the way. We've seen these things happen.
No,
and even talked about last year, the situation that came up after the game about letting them score as well.
The Alabama game, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Obviously, we weren't doing a show together, but yeah. But I guess, like you're saying, look, these things, and that's what I'm saying, and it's not just this decision. Somebody else hit us up, and I don't know what happened. Now, I guess it didn't come back to bite them in the rear end. But South Carolina had a lot of momentum at one point in the game and forced another punt from Alabama. And for some, I guess they were terrified of the fake and yanked Vakari Swain.
Yeah, they didn't have a returner back.
And didn't have a return. Look, there are so many plays in this game. And I see, I don't want to say you feel bad for Shane. They're the coaches, and Shane's making a lot of money, not as much as Brian Kelly. But, it is what it is, and you got to figure these things out. But there's so many decisions you wish you had back, so many play calls. And then, obviously, if they go South Carolina's way, you're like, wow, what a great decision that was. But, again, at the very end, they let Jeremy Bernard score. Now, they told him, hey, the goal was stop him.
Sure.
And Alabama calls a great play, and South Carolina doesn't have anybody on the backside. If you want to say anything, you're like, man, awful call by Clayton White. Bad defense. Bad defense. You just called 59 minutes and 35 seconds of a great game, and that's your worst call of the game without question or whatever it was. Fine. I can't argue with, and that's your opinion, and you're more than entitled to it, and that's fine. But they told him, if you get the first down, let him run in, and that's why DQ Smith gets there, pulls his hands back, and is like, all right, get on in there so we can give our dude the ball back. And it comes down to this real quick, Tyler. We don't talking about Nick Harbor muffing the punt, muffing the kickoff, which took time off, which started him at the 10. That was the killer.
Yeah, because you not only cost yourself about 6 seconds, you cost yourself roughly 15-ish yards at that point in time, because it's all a different starting with 34 seconds to go and only 75 yards to go, and as opposed to 91 yards in 30 seconds.
And that's a mental thing, too. Let's be honest. There's a mental aspect to that.
Sure, that field looks a whole lot longer, both technically and psychologically when it comes to taking over at the 9 as opposed to the 25. So, you put yourself behind the 8 ball. Again, I didn't love the fact that you had a route short of the sticks that you threw to that wasted another 12 seconds. But, again, you played such a good game up until the very end. That's where things went wrong. And unfortunately for a team like Alabama, if you allow them those opportunities late in the game, that's where they get you.
Yeah, well, Alabama's a good football team. They're number 4 for a reason. We'll talk big picture SEC because obviously what a weekend. I mentioned the Brian Kelly stuff. Boy, did that escalated yesterday. It seemed like in a wild fashion. It escalated. I was watching that game when I got home on Saturday night, and I've been to Baton Rouge. I've been in that stadium, and that is a fun stadium to go to. I may actually have to go to next year's Clemson LSU game to just go back down there and be a part of that environment. But what Texas A&M did to LSU on Saturday night, and South Carolina's got to play them. But this is what Texas A&M does. I feel like Texas A&M is following their script. That's why I'm sticking with Mississippi as the best team in the league. Texas A&M did this last year. They hammered LSU in College Station, and then kind of came unglued at the end.
Yeah, at least for Saturday night, they made a statement and they took over Death Valley in the process, which was all the more fuel to the fire of what got Brian Kelly canned yesterday.
803-404-6100 is how you can do so. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. We'll come back. Basketball yesterday. We hadn't talked about it. I'm going to let you listen to one of the most excited clips I've ever heard of Lamont Paris. He was all fired up yesterday, and they lost by 2. But that's all right. Doesn't count. It was an exhibition game. We'll tell you about it. All right, it is 2 o'clock on a Monday. Bill Gunner and Tyler Head as we start to slowly wrap things up this hour. Tomorrow, Shane Beamer press conference coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll have that for you right here on 107.5 The Game. And we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Wednesday, we'll have Yancey Porter with Rebel Yell on with us. And, look, all things are still... It is a different era. We all know that. I'm not telling you something that's different. Bowl eligibility does not mean what it used to mean, right? Like fighting for bowl eligibility and even more so fighting for 6 and 6, and even let's just again hypothetically say winning out and going 7 and 5 is not going to make. I guess maybe if you beating Clemson eases some pain, but going 7 and 5 does not make anybody happy, or is not going to make anybody happy. There's very few of you. You'll be happy you beat Clemson. Lord knows you'll be happy you beat Clemson. Be 2 in a row. It'll be the first time we've done that at home at Williams-Brice Stadium since 2013. So that'll give us something to celebrate. But, going 7 and 5 and going to wherever isn't going to make anybody. It isn't the same. And I get that. And I'm not trying to tell anybody that it is or that it should be.
Yeah, it's not, unless you're playing.
Especially, by the way, real quick, when you were as close to making the playoff as you were last year.
Sure, it's a significant letdown, even if you did make the Gasparilla Bowl or whatever. It's not something that people are going to be all fired up about, and I can't imagine people would want to travel too much for that one. I think it's on like December 19th or something along those lines.
Well,
so it's definitely a letdown compared to where you thought this season was going to be. But as we talk about, bowls are the opportunity to get a jump on the next year.
Yeah.
It's essentially become like an early spring practice, right? Because you'll have a lot of guys, and I know the portal's now not opening until January 2nd, but a lot of guys are going to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to go in the portal. I'm not going to be a part of this or whatever, and you're going to have a good look at what guys are going to be around next year. Theoretically, if you made a bowl game this year, maybe Sellers opts out of it, and you get a look at what the future of your quarterback position is going to look like. You really start getting an idea of what next year's team is going to be and trying to build off of that as you go into spring, fall, or a summer and all that kind of stuff for 2026. You get 15 extra practices and all those kind of things that, unfortunately, right now doesn't look like you're trending towards doing.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I hope I didn't say that incorrectly, and people are like, oh, he means cancel the season. No. Yeah, you're right. Even 6 and 6, I've said this before, you keep your players around the facility for bowl practices.
Yeah, less of them looking around.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, man.
They're not allowed to go. You keep them around where they're not going home to be around buddy or mom or dad or high school coach who goes, hey, so-and-so called.
And again, for a lot of those younger guys, say, hey, no, you didn't play this year. Here's our plan for you next year. We're going to get you doing this in the bowl game, and that can retain some talent that maybe was on the fence.
There is benefit for your football program, but I get I guess I meant fan base wise, and even somewhat for the players. But yes, South Carolina still needs to get bowl eligible. To say 5 and well, whatever they end up with, I think they go 5 and 7. I'll just say that now. I think they beat Coastal and Clemson if they continue to play the way they did on Saturday. But that's not and the boy. By the way, I'm not ready to go down this path, but I know that it's coming. They go 5 and 7, and you miss a bowl game 2 out of the last 3 years. Oh dear.
The off-season conversation will be a little different for a lot of reasons. Next 2026 would need to be a significant improvement.
We're going to turn the calendar, obviously, to November this week. You're going to dress up and you're going to look all fun and fancy on Friday night for Halloween, and then we're going to turn the calendar to November 1st. And awesome, let's go make it happen. But we got to start talking a little bit about the future here and the off season. But anyway, nonetheless. I say this because I'm going to be interested in Shane Beamer again. It'll be 107.5. It'll be right here tomorrow for the Shane Beamer press conference at 1 o'clock. his job to keep this team motivated. How you do this coming off of that heartbreaking loss. Now you got to go to Oxford. Good news is Oxford, while Mississippi's really good at football, going to Oxford at any time is not exactly walking into a terror dome of loud, obnoxious fans.
Yeah, I will say this is an instance of going in there where they're really good. So that's probably going to add a few more points to what their fan base is able to offer compared to some years past where maybe they weren't quite at this level. But, yeah, nobody looks at Ole Miss and says, okay, that's, Death Valley at its best or College Station or whatever. Like, you have...
Oh, I bet in terms of, let's call it intimidation factor, I've been everywhere but Missouri and Arkansas.
Okay.
And I've heard Arkansas is good. It's fair to probably say Oxford football stadium, atmosphere, like loud, everything. And I've been there. 15. Vanderbilt, I believe, is 16. Although right now Vanderbilt might actually be a little bit louder. But anyway, Oxford's probably hell of a tailgate.
Sure.
Hell of a
Sounds like
tailgate.
it.
Maybe number one in tailgating. 15 in terms of scaring you inside the stadium.
Yeah, and look, regardless of what the crowd does, going on the road is obviously never easy because you're just not in the comfortable confines of your own home stadium, locker room, and all that kind of stuff. That's always going to be tricky. But, yeah, you don't look at this as, again, the same daunting task we had a couple weeks ago going on the road to LSU at night and all those kind of things.
Right.
So
or going to A&M.
Or going to A&M,
in
which you're going to have to do
weeks.
in a couple weeks. Like, yeah, it's not quite as difficult of a challenge there, but still, you have to face a really, really good team in their home stadium. That's tricky.
So how they handle that, but you will hear Shane Beamer tomorrow, and that's look, it's paid why he's paid. One of the reasons why he's paid $8 million is to not have his team dwell on a heartbreaker that was Saturday. We talked a lot about that. If you want to weigh in, obviously 803-404-6100 is a lot. There's so much to weigh in on that. Rusty. Again, look, I understand. I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I think anybody that wants to say South Carolina that DQ Smith should have knocked him out at the 11-yard line and again, the way it would have played out, we agree. Alabama would have run the football, would have run it left into the middle of the field, probably 2 or 3 plays, and then Ty Simpson, falls down or whatever, and they kick a field goal. But I'm going to go with you mentioned it, DQ knocks him out at, let's say, the 11. I'll say that Alabama somehow gets 3 to 4 yards and gets to the 7-yard line. That would be basically a 20-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Not a extra point, but still a 20-yarder down the middle. He's got obviously their kicker was really good. He's not as good from 40 yards out.
Yeah.
Pretty good from 20 yards in.
He would have been in a very makeable range. And, yes, it's always possible to get a block or something along those lines, but your percentages on that are pretty low.
I kind of like my percentages of getting the ball. See, that's where I differ. I like getting the ball back. And again, we're kind of missing the point, in my opinion, on this. We're kind of missing the point. The muffed kickoff is big on this. That was played so poorly. Like, we talked Beamer ball, and look, you caught a huge break earlier with the fumble, and Beamer ball's done so many things with special teams, so it happens, mistakes happen. But that is far more egregious to me because of what happened, where it caused you to start, the time it took off, like about 7 seconds, then allowing them to score in that position instead of giving up a 20-yard field goal to end the game.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to sit here and specifically say I know it to a T, but I think if you take the knee in the end zone after bringing it out, you could.
I don't think he brought it, but he didn't bring it out.
Well, he touched it out of the end zone and then gathered it up.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Right. Well, and it rolls past him into the end zone, meaning
Right.
he can go and collect the ball and then take a knee.
Yeah, but like on an onside kick, if you kick the ball at somebody and it bounces off, it's a live ball fumble at that point, no matter how far it goes.
Well, it still would have been a fumble.
It still would have been a fumble, but I need to look up the rule on this to be exactly sure. But in the moment, I'm sure he didn't want to take the risk of that costing them at that
that's
point.
part of it. You got to know you're a
Right.
kick returner. You got to know the rules.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the rules on that.
I haven't been wrong often in my life, but it happens. But Lord knows, I'm pretty sure the fact that the way that played out and the ball went in the end zone, he could have grabbed it and taken a knee instead of bringing it out. And I get it. It's a split-second decision. You got to make the decision, and but that to me is far worse than letting them score. I liked my chances with the ball, even with no timeouts, and let's just again say the 25-yard line, having to go, 75 yards, hit a couple plays, and take a chance. I mean, look, last year we saw it. He hit Nick Arbor on a Hail Mary there with however many seconds that was left in that game.
Yeah.
So. Did you find it? Did you find the rule?
I couldn't find the specific ones about that rule.
Let's look that up. We'll get that. We'll get to the bottom of that. All right, we'll get to some basketball when we come back. Lamont Parrish's team yesterday, heartbreaker loss in Greensboro, but a lot of positives. Eli Ellis, dude can play ball. We'll talk about this. 803-404-6100. It is the Halftime Show. It is 2:17 on a Monday. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, and producer Ed Bird. And joined, as he always is, I apologize. I keep forgetting, and I forget to promote him. I am not used to this schedule. 9 years of mornings, and then Jamie being with me for, gosh, Jamie, how many years have we done? Did you join me each and every Monday on the morning show? 3, 4? How long have we been doing that?
Human years or dog years?
Oh, dear Lord. Now you're going to make me do math.
Well, I mean, it generally it depends on how long the football seasons are. Sometimes,
Good point.
If they're struggling, it feels like 30 years. If it's a good year, it flies by. You know. So let's go with like 10.
Okay, yeah, and throw in baseball as well. You can add on another decade to that. So yeah,
Right.
it's not everything's been perfect, but yeah, I forget every Monday. Jamie joins us from 2:15 to 2:45. I got to do a better job of promoting that and telling y'all about it because yeah, I was gonna talk basketball, Jamie, real quick. Heck of a. I mean, that was. I don't know if you listened yesterday. That was a blast, man. That was listening. I love listening to Derek. Derek does phenomenal. Judge Manning is incredible. Great knowledge. Just felt old school. Was listening on the old Alexa in the bedroom. Man, awesome and just unfortunate. And Eli Ellis, woo-hoo-hoo. We might have something, buddy.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I'm with you. I mean, I love Derek. Obviously, he's a dear friend, and I think he's as good as it gets when it comes to calling basketball and baseball. I mean, he's phenomenal. But yeah, man, you know, everybody's looking at the points and 5 of 7 from long range, 23 points, and I think he had 27 minutes or so on the floor. But there's a goose egg in the turnover department, and that caught my attention equally as much. I went back and looked at the end of the game. I was like, I don't think he turned the ball over, and he did not. They might have a little bit of work to do in the front court, but 86 points against a top 20 team, basically in a road game and an exhibition. That basketball team, and over a quarter of those coming from a true freshman, I'd say you got some stuff to work with, especially with a non-conference slate that's pretty favorable to get some wins.
Tyler? Eli Ellis?
I mean, it's living up to the hype so far. We'll see what happens when games start counting. But, God, we've been talking about him for
wow.
2+ years now. How long has he been committed for?
Yeah.
And, again, that kind of backs up what we saw last night. And, again, we'll see what happens once we actually get into the games start counting. But so far, so good.
He was fun yesterday. They were all fun. But defense, look, we'll talk more about it. But I will say this might be a team who scores a lot of points and makes a lot of threes and is fun offensively. They may cause serious heartburn for Lamont Paris defensively. That could be. Now, NC State, as you mentioned, is expected to be pretty good, but we'll talk more basketball as we move through the week. But, Jamie, we have been discussing stuff on this football game all day. It was just such a tough Saturday for the Gamecocks. They do so many things, but I'll kind of let you go with it for a second. There's just so many decisions that if they work out, we're talking about how great they were. They didn't work out. And unfortunately, we're talking about a very difficult loss and a great opportunity missed on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, heartburn is the way to put it. There's been, since the end of the game, so many conversations about basically the last 2 drives. South Carolina's drive in their attempt to go win it, and then what do you do with Alabama when they have the chance to score? Do you give up the score? Do you make them kick the field goal? And I understand that because you've got a neck-and-neck game there at the end that's tied, and what do you know, there's so much that can be debated about how those drives were handled by both sides of the ball. But I go back to the beginning of the game. I mean, I thought that Coach Beamer, after the ball game, what he said about finishing was exactly right. It was exactly what came to mind personally when I was reflecting on the ball game, and then I heard his press conference, and he nailed it. You know, this team has to learn how to finish, and it's getting pretty late. So, they're going to need to figure it out. It's not just finishing the game, It's finishing drives. I mean, you're talking about probably a 3-3 SEC record and a 5-3 overall record, if not maybe a 6th win to this point, if they're able to finish drives to this point. And you go back to the very first drive of the game. I mean, they're down inside the 10-yard line, and they end up having to kick a field goal. I mean, it's good to take the points there, unlike what happened against Oklahoma. But you got to get in the end zone in games like this, against Alabama, against Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and A&M coming up. And we saw it against LSU. Like, you've got to find a way to get into the end zone. And they did so many things offensively the other day that we haven't seen much of. And they put that in there, spreading the field out, utilizing space, rolling Sellers out. I mean, all kinds of things that were just good offensive things. And then a couple of times you get inside the red zone and you just can't get the ball in the end zone. And it ultimately affected the final outcome. And, the attention is on what happened at the end of the fourth quarter. But I think if you go back throughout the game, you'll see they had multiple opportunities to basically put the thing away, and they didn't do it.
As you alluded to there, the offense overall had a really good day, probably the best of the entire season as far as the entire game's concerned. And Beamer mentioned it after the game that, he told Mike Shula in no shorter words, like, hey, let's simplify this. You got 10 plays that work, let's run those 10 plays over and over again. That's kind of what everybody's been clamoring for, and it's frustrating that it had to happen 8 games into the year, because you wonder what could have been if you were playing offensively like that through those games against Missouri and Vanderbilt and LSU, and maybe you do steal 2, if not 3 of those games instead. But, at least they figured it out at some point, I guess.
Yeah, I know, and that is very frustrating. Stephen Garcia and I were talking last week about players, not plays. Players, not plays. Players, not plays. I mean, you can – I mean, Coach Spurrier was classic in his entire career, not just in Columbia, but everywhere he ever was. Okay, well, these are the plays that we know will work, and these are our best players. So we're going to go out there and run them. And you can run them out of different formations, and there's a lot of things that you can do, but at the end of the day, it's about making sure that your best players are impacting the game as often as they can. And I thought Carolina did that. I mean, obviously, as you pointed out, Coach Beamer mentioned that after the game, and you do wonder now with what lies ahead, back-to-back road trips with an off week in between to top 10 SEC programs, how much can you continue to build on that? Like, is there enough there that they can go knock off one of these teams in the next couple of weeks and still have a shot at playing in the postseason? I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. But I mean, you think about how many times that Lenoris used his check down, or that they went to the screen game with Rasul this weekend, and spreading the field out and allowing him to use his legs. Like, when he sees space, he can go. I mean, that big third down that he picked up, I think he went for 17 yards. He had 2 options, and both were going to work. I don't know if y'all saw the replay of that, but Sellers comes across the middle of the field. Everybody else is running down the field, and Sellers breaks it off, and he's in the middle of the field. He can throw it for a first down, or he can use his legs. He picks up a first down with his legs. Either way, it doesn't matter. That's the game that Lenoir Sellers can play, and that's what they can beat you with. So it's frustrating that they're 3-5, and obviously the 1-5 in the SEC is a major black eye, but you still got 4 games to play. So how much of that continues to get built off of and get molded, and maybe do you find a couple of wins with it here in late October, November?
You bring up a really good point. We have not discussed that today, Tyler. Shane Beamer and this staff and this culture pride themselves on winning the fourth quarter, and in years past, they have been able to do that. That has been something that they have been successful for. You certainly even think back to last year in the Clemson game. They lead by 2 going into the fourth quarter against Missouri and get outscored 11-0. Obviously on Saturday they were leading 15-14 going into the fourth quarter at that point, and scored the touchdown, and then obviously get outscored, or 15 more points get scored, and they only score 7. I'm trying to think, again. Yeah, I want to say even the Oklahoma game was it still a 10-point game at that point?
I think it was 17-7 at the end of the
I can't remember when Oklahoma kicked that field goal, but but you're right, Jamie, and Shane's right about that too. For whatever reason this year, that message and that big part of the culture, again, as they call it, has not sustained, has not even been there, been close.
No, it hasn't been. I mean, it's, and that goes back. I mean, we had this conversation probably 6 weeks ago. What does your leadership look like, and where, leadership it involves a lot of things, right? I mean, it involves, being able to step up and make plays when you need a play made. It involves being able to, kind of keep things on track out on the field. I mean, there's a lot of it, but when you know that somebody's in charge out there, it creates a confidence that you can go perform and succeed in whatever the situation is. And, I don't know, does the lack of execution go back to that? I mean, I would venture a guess that you could probably pin some of that on leadership, sure. But I mean, I think a lot of it too is just on confidence in general. And sometimes leaders emerge from just being a confident group, and they've just had so many things this year go wrong. It's almost like it's the human element to wait until something goes wrong, not right. And you can gain that quickly, but you can lose that quickly. Like, that can be an identifier of your program. Hey, we're gonna get it done right here. We're gonna make a play. But then also that can dissipate really, really quickly, especially in today's world, because rosters change basically overnight. So, maybe they found something. I mean, it was nice to see their best players make big plays the other day, Faison and Harbor, and obviously Sellers and those guys. But they're gonna need more than 22 points the next couple of games. I can tell you that. I mean, at the end of the day, they still only scored 2 touchdowns this past weekend, and they're gonna have to score a lot more than that to beat one of these teams.
We'll come back. South Carolina and Clemson on a Friday. Well, there seems to be an open possibility. We'll talk about that and get a few more thoughts from Jamie Bradford. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2:35 as we move toward wrapping up a rainy Monday and we try to get out of here safely and canoe our way home. Hope you're doing well out there and enjoying your Monday and get through. We have not talked World Series. That's playing out very well, very quickly, Jamie and Tyler.
Yep.
Tyler, I think we're going to, hopefully we get another good Game 3. We get a Game 3 tonight.
Yeah, a little back and forth through the first 2 games so far, but yeah, so far so good.
Jamie, you're a baseball guy. World Series grabbing your attention right now, or are you totally football?
Oh yeah, I'm on Team Smoke. You know, they're hoping the Blue Jays win this thing. I guess Scherzer's going tonight, so we'll see. It's going to be a tough draw having to go back to LA, but I'm praying that it ain't LA that winds up with the trophy. I mean, I know Toronto is a Canadian team, but I'd much rather see them bring it up. They haven't won the World Series since my best friend's grandfather was their pitching coach. How about that? Galen Cisco back in the early 90s.
93. 94.
93. 94 was cut short because of the strike.
They won back-to-back, right? They beat the Braves, and then they beat the Phillies.
Because 92 was worst to first.
92 was the Twins.
No. 91?
91 was the Twins.
91 was Twins.
Yeah.
There's your.
That's right.
There's your way back baseball. Back when baseball was good. 803-404-6100. Anyway, yeah, game three tonight. I can give or take. I'm not. Did we pick winners?
We picked our matchup. We didn't pick winners.
We didn't pick winners.
You had the matchup correct, though.
I did. Hey, see? Jamie, real quick, do you know the rule on this? We debated real quick, and I want to get to the Carolina Clemson thing. But do you know the official rule? We keep forgetting to look it up in the break. We get tied up doing other stuff. We've talked about it. South Carolina, Alabama scores at the very end, and we've debated today. Look, I had no problem. Real quick, all right, let's go down this path. I had no problem with letting them score. I prefer to have the football with my team and a chance to go down and tie the game in that situation as opposed to Alabama kicking a 20-yard down-the-middle kick as time expires. I prefer that. That's me. People are more than allowed to have their own opinion. I think the play that we're not discussing that hurt far more than allowing Jeremy Bernard to score after he got the first down was Nick Harbor's kick return. And on that play, since he bobbled it and it then goes back into the end zone, he could have picked it up and taken a knee, and it would have not been a safety. We are correct on that?
Oh, I don't know. I thought after he touched it, it's live because he never.
Oh, it's live. A kickoff is live regardless. It's just like as long as it goes 10 yards, in an onside kick, it's live.
Yeah, but after you touch it, you're saying he could have taken a knee and it would have been he would have.
I think it would have been I thought it was a touchback.
I thought it was going to be a safety if he does that. That's
See,
what we
I
weren't
think
sure
because he
about.
didn't possess the ball.
No, I agree with Tyler. Right? If you touch the football, it's a live ball. Period. You can't just all of a sudden signal, "Well, I'm going to take a knee now."
Well, it's a live ball. Once again, just like the onside kick, it's live. It doesn't matter. I know what you're saying, but no,
Yeah, it would have been live.
I think because we got to get to the bottom. Clearly we need to know a referee better. I've got one, but I don't have his number, and we'll get to the bottom of that.
Well, what are you're saying that he could have taken a knee,
I think he could have because he didn't have possession because it hit him and like rolled him back. He missed it, essentially missed it. He missed a grounder. It rolled into the end zone. I think he could have gone back and gotten it and taken a knee, and that would have put the ball at the 25 and saved 6 to 7 seconds.
But he had touched it though.
I know he touched. We'll look it up. I got to come back to that. Your thoughts on that ending? You okay? Doesn't matter. Let me ask you this: would you rather them kick the field goal, or would you rather once he got the first down, let them score, and you take the chance with your guy, Lenore Sella? And again, this is where we go back to that, because then things go haywire and you get the ball at the 10 and not the 25 if it's a touchback. Alabama knew what they were doing. Great job, Alabama. Alabama coached that final 2-16 really well. But the bottom line is, would have you rather them kick the field goal there to win the ball game as time expired, to potentially win the ball game as time expired, or do you want the ball back?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer, and the quick response to that is, and here's why. Really quickly, number one, you want Lenore Sellers to have a chance. There's no doubt. You don't want him to not have a chance. That's number one. The other side of it, though, if you force them to kick it, here are the things that have to happen: good snap, good hold, good kick, and you're going to sell out. So who cares if you get a penalty or something on the field goal? Like if you jump a guy and that's not allowed or whatever the case is, you know, sometimes you take your chances on special teams with South Carolina because they're so good on special teams. So if I would have been in that moment, I would have probably not let them go in the end zone as the head football coach and said, no, we're going to go try to block the kick and let's just force them to do everything perfect here. But I do understand why they allowed them to score, to let Lenore Sellers have a shot at this thing.
By the way, just Texter says you can 100% take a knee if you didn't possess it. Rick says it would have been a safety. Okay, we don't know. We will get to the bottom of that. We got to learn the rules better around here. And now it just goes to show you Nick Harbor. That's a tough one. You saw today, and we got about 3 minutes left with you, but I find this interesting, and I don't want to hold it till next week. Chapel Fowler found this clause now in the contract signed by South Carolina that in 2027 it is open to the potential of playing the South Carolina Clemson game on a Friday. That would be November the 26th. The 27th would be a Saturday. You open to a Friday night game at Williams-Brice Stadium against Clemson? I assume a Friday game. I should say Black Friday game?
I'd be open to it, and it's not surprising that that's in there. Shane Beamer alluded to this last year, that they would be open to that. I mean, the Egg Bowl is at noon on Friday this year. Georgia Tech is at 3:30, and Texas A&M are at 7:30. I mean, if it's good enough for those series to be played on Friday, I mean, it's good enough for South Carolina and Clemson. I mean, what do you get out of that? Is it more viewership? Is there a financial incentive to doing this? I don't know. But I mean, I don't want it to ever be played on Thanksgiving Day again. But I'm fine on Friday if that's what they decided to do, I guess. I mean, I don't love the short week. I'd rather you have an extra day to work on your rival.
You make sure
I understand it.
You make sure that you play, I don't know, one of these FCS. There's where you play your FCS game, right? The Saturday before. But try it once. I'd love to see it. Try it once and give it a shot. You know, Tyler, kind of non-biased on this.
I'm all for it.
Georgia Tech last year was on a Friday.
It's going to be on there this year as well. I'm for it. It gives you more exposure on a day where there's not as many games. Why not? Go for it.
Jamie, we always appreciate it, buddy. Any final thoughts before we let you out on Saturday I didn't get to?
No, I mean, once again, hat tip to the University of South Carolina's fans. I mean, they're the best there is. And, you know, I still think that there will be more positive outcomes from that loss on Saturday. There's a lot of people that were there that could be a part of this program in the future that acknowledged just how amazing it is inside of Williams-Brice Stadium. So keep it up, finish strong, and maybe they can scrape their way into the postseason.
Always appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you next week, big fella.
All right, guys. See you.
Phil, I have an answer on the other side.
Thank goodness. Good Lord. We'll tell you the answer. You're listening to the Halftime Show. All right, I have reached out to my high school official buddy. He sent me the voicemail. Didn't want me to harass him.
Doesn't he know we need an answer to a question?
Does not know. He did not know. He probably has no. He probably has no clue why I called him. If somebody sees Woody Turner out there, Woody, we needed you right now. I needed you bad. We need an answer. Tyson Boltnight weighs in. Good buddy Tyson. I know Tyson's a basketball ref and a great coach over at ALA out in Lexington, but he says a muffed kick is a touchback. Now, you have video from Georgia State Vanderbilt last year.
Yes.
That explain it.
So when Vanderbilt played at Georgia State last year, they lost that game, by the way. Vanderbilt was going to return a kick. The returner is in the end zone and bounces off of him to about the 1 yard line. He then reaches across the goal line
And brings it back.
in. That was a safety.
I don't think the ball can't come out of the end zone and then go back.
And that's where we're having the trouble, is because Harbor touched the ball in the field of play and then kind of like rounded back into the end zone. And we don't know if he could have taken a knee and gotten the ball out to the 25 or if that would have been a safety. Now, again, if he wasn't sure, then it was probably the smart choice to just run it out and not risk it.
At this point, yeah.
It's so hard to find rules, especially when you put safety in, because it wants us to talk about health and safety. Because I think that could have been a safety if he touches in the field of play, goes into the end zone, and then kneels on it. I think.
See, I think because he didn't have possession of it, and it went into the end zone, and then he had possession in the end zone, it is a touchback. We'll continue to get to the bottom of it because nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
People are weighing in on the text line, and I've got like literally back and forth. Let's try and get to. He hung up. Drew hung up. I apologize. Sorry, Drew. Give us a call tomorrow. We'll definitely let you talk about the game. I probably had a lot going on this hour. We wrap it up. And tomorrow we'll move forward to Mississippi, and Yancey Porter with Rebel Yell will join us on Wednesday. Real quick, we'll wrap it up this way. We'll get to Brian Kelly tomorrow. We don't have enough time. That was something. But you look at the weekend that was, and big thoughts, big picture on what you saw coming out of the weekend.
Look, I saw a much better team. I saw a team that played the number 4 team in the country all the way down to the wire. Now, yeah, Alabama didn't play its best game, but still, that was a better performance offensively, defensively, and special teams than what we'd seen out of South Carolina in terms of an entire game so far this year. So that is encouraging. Again, going back to what we talked about with Jamie, I hate the fact that, like the conversation around the offense, it took till week 8 to get to that point, but it falls in line with what we say about Beamer teams all the time. They get better later in the season, and you seem to be kind of heating up in that same regard. Now, you got to go out there and do that in the next 2 weeks to give yourself an opportunity to pull an upset against Ole Miss or A&M, or else at that point the season's pretty much lost, and you're not even playing for a bowl game at that point. But, this goes back to credit to where it's due to Beamer. Team's never given up on them. And they absolutely have their backs up against the wall, and they're fighting for every inch they can get at this point. But they're still playing hard, and you got to give them credit for that. Crowd was great, minus the premature positioning for the field storming. But the crowd did a great job, stayed engaged the entire time, and unfortunately, there in those last couple of minutes, again, when if you can't bury them 6 feet under, a team like Alabama can come back and bite you at the very end.
Well, you knew, and look, you say that. And it doesn't qualify for South Carolina this year the way they've played. But Tyler, kind of like the Oklahoma game where midway through the third quarter, you just like, man, this South Carolina's all literally in the Oklahoma game, you're like, South Carolina's awful. This is awful. But you look up and you're like, they're one pick six or fluke play or long Nick Harbor touchdown pass away from tying the game. Well, it was kind of the same thing. I looked at Austin Saturday, I think about the same way, halfway through the third quarter, I believe somewhere in there in the third, I'm like, they're once again, right, I think it was somewhere in there, and I'm like, once again, here's South Carolina right in the middle of the game, and then sure enough, they hit Nick Harbor on the long touchdown, and then you get the muffed punt, and you go in, and then you kick the field goal, and you go up 15-14, and they've been there. That's the Vanderbilt game, they weren't there. Let's be honest.
No. And
second half, they got their doors. The doors blew the doors off of South Carolina.
Yeah, they did. But every other game, you've had your opportunities in the second half.
And I'm not saying that as a moral victory. That's not the moral victory thing. My point on that is this team, as Shane Beamer said, doesn't know how to finish, and that has been a problem this year. And Saturday it showed more than ever. Well, you can't win them all, Tyler. You can't win them all. That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say around here, I think. That's what they say. We'll do it again tomorrow. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right.
Maybe we'll know the rule by then.
Good Lord. Yeah, if you know everybody's got homework
I'm going to try it on CFB 26 and see what I get.
You do that. Good idea.
Yeah.
Good strategy. We'll find out for you. Shane Beamer tomorrow. Press conference. Y'all have fun.